today we're going to talk about how to use our crayons and how to create value, and we're going to do a little practice with our value scales before we start working on our drawing. So today we're going to need a blank sheet of paper, and we're going to need our drawing, a ruler, a pencil, and of course our crayons. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is our crayons. And
review.
We're going to review what we did last time before we start to use those. When we are to this point, you should have taken your ruler and created all of your straight edges and corners. And you should have all of your shapes divided. Okay, that's what we did in class this last week. Before we add color, it's really important that we don't have any messy pencil lines. So remember, we're going to erase our original divisions in our paper that we used when we enlarged our drawing, and we are going to erase any original sketchbook lines where we drew when we enlarged our drawing. If we have any smudgy lines when we use the angled ruler to create our sharp angles, we are also going to erase those. So we want this to be a very clean drawing. When we add color, if we put color on top of messy pencil lines or messy erase marks, we cannot change it and it will mess up the color. So this needs to be very clean. Okay. So we're going to come back to that. Our next thing is we're going to take out our colors and review what we've talked about for colors. So if we take all our colors out of the box, I first want you to find your neutral colors. And we should have 3. Black, brown, white, and then now we have a box of 24, so we are going to have 4. We also have gray. Those are our neutral colors, and we are not using any of those, so let's put those back in our box. Okay. Next, we're going to find all of our cool colors, which are all of our blues and greens and purples. Violets. Okay, remember, violet is the more correct name, so that includes the red violet, the blue violet, blue, green, blue, yellow, green, yellow. Okay, so we should have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. You should have 10 cool colors. We are not using those today. We'll talk about those next time. So let's go ahead and put those back in the box. And so all that I have left are my yellows, oranges, reds, and since we have the big box, I have a yellow, orange, and I have a pink, okay? So this is our fancy box, so we have different variations on those colors, all right? Now we're going to create our value scale. So we're going to take our paper and fold it in half, matching up our corners. And then I'm going to crease it. Okay, so it's like a book. And then I'm going to fold that over, making a smaller book. Okay, so this is taco style or hamburger style. Okay, so now it opens like this. And then I want you to fold it one more time in half, taco or hamburger style. So it's this size. When we open that up, we're going to have 8 squares or rectangles. Okay? So we'll have 8 rectangles. We are going to use our first rectangle for our information instead of putting that on the back. So I want you to put your name, your art class, your art period, and the date. That's all going in that first box or that first rectangle. And the assignment. The assignment name is our value scale. And we're going to do 2 parts. Today we're doing part 1. Part 1 is warm colors. And part 2 is cool colors. And we'll do the cool colors next time. Okay? So we're going to have 3 value scales for our warm colors and 4 value scales for our cool colors. Okay? Let's think back about our color wheel. Our primary color, that was the darkest, that is a warm color, is red. So I want you to put red in your next box at the top. Box number 2. In box number 3 at the top, we're going to use a secondary color that's warm, that is orange. And in our last box, box 4, so 1 is our name, 2 is red, 3 is orange. In our last box, we're going to use yellow, orange, an intermediate color. Okay? Now, yellow-orange has a recipe, and when we do yellow-orange, we're going to use the recipe of, I want you to think of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So we're starting with our base color first, which is going to be yellow. Just like when we did our sliced peach, we started with our base color yellow. And then we're going to add red, and then we're going to come back and add yellow. Okay, so in this case, the red or the color in between is like our jelly or jam, for those of you that have jam. Our jam lovers or jelly lovers. Okay, now I want to find my red, and if I'm not sure which one is red, it's going to have the color name here. And the first thing is we're going to use our ruler to draw a box. Okay, and what's really important, one side of our ruler has the metal edge. We are not using that. We're using the other side of our ruler. And I'm going to make 2 parallel lines. In fact, I can kind of use the ruler as my guide. So I can make about a ruler width long. And I want it to be about 3 inches long. So, it can be a little less, but to get a nice line, we're going over the line 3 times. Okay, you'll notice I did the sides first, so it looks kind of like railroad tracks. And now I'm going to do the end. 1, 2, 3. And I'm pressing medium hard. 1, 2, 3. And then if I have any little gaps, I can come back and close up my box. Okay? Now, when we talked about mixing or blending colors, making a value scale with our colored pencil, we're going to have 100%, we're going to have 50%, we're going to have 10%, and we're going to have 0. So it's really important that we put those numbers on the side to remind us how to build our value scale. And I'm not pressing really hard with my crayons. Just like with pencil, I'm lightening the pressure. And as I come down to 0, I'm really using less pressure. And then I'm going to kind of work backwards. Okay, so I don't have 50%, but the 10% is pretty good. So then I'm going to add another layer, pressing a little bit harder and working back to 100. Then I'm going to start at 50, go a little bit harder, with my next layer. So I'm going to keep adding layers. I don't want to, if I press too hard, I'm going to break the crayons. And I don't really want stripes, so now you'll notice I'm working at the 100% end. So if I can, it's better if I have kind of a gradual blend. And we can make this come down a little bit more to 0. But 0, remember, is no crayon at all. Okay, all right, so now we're going to set that aside. We want our orange, which is medium orange. We have some in-between colors here, so our orange is our next color. Be sure you have the one that says orange. And again, I'm going to start with my box first. I'm using the straight side of the ruler that does not have metal. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to use the ruler as a guide for my width. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then I will do the top. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, before I start my color wheel, I have more room over here, so I'm going to put my numbers on the other side. It really helps my brain kind of get a grip on things if I put those numbers there, so it's really important to start there. And again, I'm starting at the 100% end. As much as possible, I'm going all the way down, lightening the pressure, but I'm going to leave some blank at the end. And if it is easier to control the 100% end, that's fine. But remember, we're building layers. So 10% might be 2 layers. And then I need to start working backwards to my darker end. 15% is going to be a little darker than 10. So I'm trying to keep my pressure on my crayon pretty uniform. And then at 50% to 100%, I should see some change there. Okay? If I don't see much change, then I maybe press a little bit too hard. Okay, now the tricky part for the yellow-orange is we're going to use yellow as our base color first. So we're starting the same way. We'll have to look a little carefully to see the lines. 1, 2, 3, but we're doing the same process using the ruler as our guide. 1, 2, 3, and then the top and the bottom. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and we're going to mark our 100. I'm going to mark it with pencil since the yellow is kind of light. 10, 0. Okay, so we're starting with the light end, or the 100% end still. And this is the bottom layer of our sandwich, so I'm still leaving some bare paper down at the 0. And it's really important that I make sure that I have the yellow all the way over. And we're going to use our red. I want to make sure I have the right red. Yes, I do. And again, light pressure at the 100% end. and very light pressure, barely touching the paper at the other end. So it takes a little practice. And so I'm going to go over this jelly layer or a couple of times so I can kind of get the lighter value red, okay? And then I'm going to come back with my top layer, my yellow. And I'm using a little more pressure at the 100% end and lighter pressure and lighter pressure. So you'll notice this yellow orange is pretty light. So maybe as I'm building color, I might bring in one of my other oranges. But it's really important to remember, just like with our colored pencils, if I make it really heavy and dark, it will be very hard to blend colors. So if I do 30% and 30% and 30%, I'm at 90%. So I'm going to gradually build the colors. If I wanted it to be more orange, now I could come in with a little bit of the orange on top if I wanted that shape to be more orange. But I'm still heavier pressure down here, lighter pressure, lighter pressure, lighter pressure, lighter pressure. Okay? All right, so that's our process. And we're going to mix colors the same way on our large drawing. On our large drawing, we are going to start with, I would recommend that you start with your focal point area first. So when I did my drawing on all the different stages, this is my shoe and I'm starting with the shoelace. So where I have 3 parts for the shoelace, I can't have 3 yellows or 3 oranges or 3 red oranges. But I want to start with where I want my focal point is. So I'm going to start right here. So I want this centerpiece to be straight yellow. So I'm going to use my ruler, and remember that we're outlining, and I'm using the side of the ruler that does not have the metal, and I'm going to go over the line 3 times, and then I have to move the ruler. And the crayon is thicker than our pencil, so allow for the thickness of the tip. And sometimes I even have to turn my paper so that I can see what I'm doing. 1, 2, 3. So for each shape, we're going to outline it first, and then we're going to fill in the center. Okay, so I will think about value. Now, I haven't built in much value change here, so I want to show you that. So now I'm going to have it be lighter value at this end and darker value at the tip. So I'm doing my sandwich using lighter pressure. So the end is going to be my 0 value. Okay, it's very light, getting darker. And we talked about the sandwich, so now I'm going to come back with my base color. Okay, there's the first shoelace. Now I want to stay in that group of colors, but I don't want a light and a light next to each other. So maybe on this one, I will start with my orange. And I'm going to start the same way. That is, I'm going to start by outlining And it's important that I go over each line 3 times, so we're following the same process that we did on our value scale. And I'm outlining every shape first before I do the inside. And I have a little gap here, so I need to take care of that. Okay, now I've outlined my shape. Now before I start, I have to decide, do I want it darker up here and lighter down here? Or do I want lighter here and darker down here? What would provide the most contrast? Contrast is visually interesting. I think it'll be a little interesting to have it be darker here and go to lighter here. So let's see what that looks like. Even if my idea is to have the darker up towards the center where I started, I'm going to start light. That's like my 10%. And I might have to hold my drawing out and look at it from a ways. And kind of in my mind's eye, imagine what it would look like. I think I need it darker over here at this end. Okay? So I'm going to start thinking about 50%, working backwards. And I want you to mix colors in every shape. Okay, so this was orange, so now I need my red. And again, I'm starting at the dark end. And I'm lightening my pressure as I come out. What happens if I get it too red? Then I can come back and my top layer can be my yellow. And so I will build up my color. All right. So now I have lots of shoelace shapes here. I have this one. I have this one. I have these down here. But it's better kind of if I build out from here. So this is a little more reddish. So I don't want a reddish here. So if I'm keeping with my drawing, this might be more of a yellow or yellow-orange. But then what would I do here? A straight red won't look very good. So maybe I'm going to take this same color and I will start with yellow. It's easy to get excited about adding color and start. Remember that we are outlining first. And I have to allow space for the width of the crayon. How many times am I outlining? 3. That's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Okay, if I go back to the same way I started, I have to decide which end is going to be lighter, so I'm thinking about value. I think I want to reverse it, so I want my lighter end to be down here. So I'm going to start very lightly there. And use a little bit more yellow down here at this far end. A little more pressure. Okay, and then I came in with the orange. Lighter here. So if I had it the same up here as this, there would be less contrast. So I want to use the yellow-orange down here and have more yellow up towards the reddish shape. Again, my pressure's very light. And then I can add a little bit more orange. So I'm going towards the 50% orange. And I wanted it more yellow-orange, so now I'm using my base color again on the top. Light pressure, light pressure. Okay, so as I'm going to build my drawing, and I want you to think about your focal point. Since I wanted my shoelaces to be my focal point, I'm going to pick out, here I have a shoelace, here I have a shoelace, here I have a shoelace, here I have a shoelace. So it's possible that I might need to get out my sketchbook drawing, and sometimes when we're abstracting, we sort of lose track of the shapes. So you might want to have your original sketchbook drawing out, and I'm not sure I have mine here, but you might want to set that on the table as you work. So for next time, I want you to have your warm colors done. Okay, now that means my whole drawing will not be finished. Today we're just working with warm colors. So that will be all of the main parts of my shoe, all my shoelaces. That's what I will have done for next time. If you're doing the apple and the apple core, that would be your apple core and maybe your leaves. That would be the main, just the apple core. That would be what you're going to do, okay? If you're working on the canna blossom, the canna flower, you would have the blossom done. If you're working on the peach slice and the whole peach and the leaves, then you would have the slice done and the parts of the peach that are those colors. Okay, so start with your focal point and use where you want your warm colors, and hopefully that will be about 50% of your drawing. For some of you it might be a little more or a little less. Okay, all right, happy drawing. Let's review what we needed to do. Okay, so we are thinking about our value, so we're changing our pressure, we are mixing colors, and just like on our value scales that we created today, or that you will create, you're creating a value scale for red, a value scale for orange, and a value scale for yellow-orange. Okay, we're practicing with the red and the orange. We're practicing using pressure so we can get light to dark values of color. And on our yellow-orange value scale, we're practicing how to blend and mix colors. So we're combining value and color like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay? When we are drawing on our value scales, we started with outlining the shape. When we start on our drawing, we're going to outline each shape using the side of the ruler that is flat. Okay, it should not the metal side, but the flat side. And we're going to practice pressure and color mixing on our drawing. So I'm not just going to use yellow for the whole drawing or red for the whole drawing. I'm using my color wheel. And if I run out of colors, I might have to mix 2 more to make a new color. I might have to mix 2 oranges to make a new orange. Okay, so you can use any of the warm colors in any combination, but you must mix colors in every shape that you put color on, in every shape. Okay, all right.